Welcome to Moneyline MMA coverage of UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Strickland, coming into you on December 17th with the prelims starting at 3 p.m. Central Time. This card will be in Las Vegas at the UFC Apex, as I said, headlined by Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. And this week, Jose and I are going to bring to you a new format for these fights in which we're going to change up the way we cover. Instead of just going from top to bottom, like we have and everybody else in the industry kind of seems to just do, we're going to shake it up a little bit. And Jose and I decided this week to bring you guys our picks based on weighted confidence. So Jose and I have picked 5 of these 6 main card fights. And in order of confidence, we're going to discuss from most to least confident picks. And some of those, Jose and I may agree or disagree on, and we'll address those agreements or disagreements as they come. So starting with so in order, we're going to go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then that's in weight. So the 5 weight is the heaviest, meaning the most confident. So we'll start with my 5 weight, aka my most confident pick in this card, at least specifically for the main card of UFC Strickland versus Cannonier. I'm going to take Amir Albazi to beat Alessandro Costa, as Amir Albazi is a minus 500 favorite. Costa is a plus 340 underdog. This fight will be the third fight on the third last fight that is on the card. These are 2 young guns, up-and-coming prospects in the UFC. Alessandro Costa is coming off a Dana White Contender Series split decision win earlier this year in July, as Amir Albazi, my pick and favorite in this card, is coming off 3 straight wins, 2 being submission wins. And he was just signed to the UFC back in 2020. He's had 1 fight in each year. This is the first year for the UFC. He's fighting twice. But otherwise, he's 3-0 in the UFC, 15-1 career against Costa, 11-2. Jose, this is your 2 weight. You've actually got Amir Albazi. Or excuse me, I'm getting him confused now. I've got Amir Albazi. You've got Costa. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Alessandro Costa, yeah, he's my number 2 because like as you stated earlier, I almost was not gonna leave him on, but the reason why I put him on was because he's a big underdog and he's a newcomer coming in, and I don't think he's gonna be an actual easy walk in the park for Albazi. The dude is young and he's riding a 7-fight winning streak with a 75% finish rate, and he's not the fastest starter. He does throw 3 significant strikes per minute. And his wrestling, he's a big stand-up guy, so this really won't go to the floor, go to the ground. He has actually a 0% takedown advantage. But he does have 100% takedown defense. So I think we can expect him to start up on the feet and keep it slow. I think the reason why Albazi is definitely the favorite is because he has more UFC experience. But there's a reason why the UFC thinks that Alessandro Costa should be in the cage with him. And I think for him making his UFC debut, I think it's going to be huge. He's coming off a first-round KO knockout over from Lux fighting against Carlo Gomez, and he has won via split decision on Dana White's Contender Series. And before that, he's a finisher. He's a finisher, but he's also good enough to go to decision. And he'd even pull the close ones like a split one. You know, that's like a luck of the draw, but Dana didn't sign him right away. But there's a reason why they called him back to be in the UFC and go against someone like Albazi. So him being that much of an underdog, I'm like, you know what? I have to have him on there, though, at some point to get some good money if he pulls it through.
Yeah, man, that's fair enough. And that was my mistake earlier towards the beginning when I give my pick that my 5 weight was Albazi. I should have given you the shot a few seconds to say that you had your 2 weight there on Costa. So just for everybody listening, that is a reminder that I have my 5 weight, my most confidence on Albazi here, and Jose's 2 weight is Alessandro Costa, the underdog, meaning he's got Costa as his pick, but not as quite as confident as some of his other picks. So I totally get what you're saying. That is a pretty big underdog spot for a kid that's had such a great run in the Lux Fighting League. In the end, man, I just think Albazi is the real deal just as much as he is. And yeah, the UFC experience helps, but in the end, neither of these guys have that much UFC experience. I think both of them are just going to go in and use whatever instincts they've learned from their previous fight experience and get to it. I think Amir Albazi will be able to land some takedowns on Costa. So if he decides to go to that point, I mean, he's got 2 submission wins already in the UFC. I'm not sure I want to go quite as far as to say that he'll submit Costa here, but I think he'll at least be able to use that to his advantage to win a couple rounds. So we'll see. But I will have my 5 weight with Amir Albazi. So next, Jose, feel free to discuss your 5 weight pick.
Yeah, Nick. So for my 5 weight pick, I have Drew Dober over Bobby Green. And right now, Drew Dober is the betting favorite at -160, while Bobby Green is the betting underdog at +124.
Just letting everybody know, I got Drew Dober as my 1 weight. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, excellent. So you got me at your one way. So we're like the polar opposites right here. The reason why I'm so confident in Drew Dober having this win is his two most recent wins. The dude is a finisher, and the way he finished Terrence McKinney and Rafael Alves, he's showing power. And both guys, what I like is both guys have experience against Islam Makhachev, the current champ right now at 155. But Bobby Green, he went against him like kind of last minute, and that's why he got finished in the first round. But I think, Islam's just that much better than him that even with a camp, if Islam, I just felt like Islam would have finished him at some point for sure. He also finished Drew Dober, but Drew was able to go 3 rounds against Islam and just not survive and get choked out at the end of the 3rd round. But he has wins over young guys like Nasra and Alexander Hernandez as well. And he's kind of up there. He's 34, and Bobby Green's a bit older than him. So the fact that Drew Dober is able to hang in there with those young bucks that carry power is why I feel really confident in him. Probably even putting out Bobby Green, to be honest.
Yeah, man, those are some great points. And on top of what you're saying, I agree. Like I mentioned earlier, I got Dober as my 1 weight, so I'm not quite as confident, but mainly because I think this is, Bobby Green is, he's really good, is what I'm trying to say. I think he's still to be feared. And both these guys are getting older, but Drew Dober, the reason I will lean his way is mainly what I've seen recently, specifically this year. Drew Dober was able to outlast Terrence McKinney's barrage in the first round. I mean, talk about a really crazy, eventful fight for the fact that it didn't even get out of the first round. Terrence McKinney was all over him. He outlasted him, got the TKO. What a fight. Drew Dober then knocks out Alves in the 3rd round. I've just seen a lot more recent success from Drew Dober, and I get that Bobby Green has fought some of the best, the current champion in the division this year, and he's 1-1, and it's going to be a tough win there to beat the current champion. But regardless, man, I just think Drew Dober still has some left in the tank. He's 2 years younger than Bobby Green, which is not too significant, but I think it's still significant enough to give him the youth needed, in his mind at least, to make another run. Who says he can make that run? But I think at least on Saturday night, he'll be successful in advancing forward past Bobby Green.
So yeah, then there you have it. We both got Drew Dober. Yeah, like I get what you're coming from, Nick. Like, yeah, anything, I can see that. I was like, the reason why I just feel that confident in Drew over Bobby is just that I don't know. Bobby Green is good, but I just don't know if he. I just didn't have that feeling this time.
Yeah, no, I kind of get what you're saying. Regardless of the stats and who he's fought lately, there is just kind of a feeling you can get, especially if you're checking out some of the people's social media pages and stuff, and just kind of getting a vibe on where their mindset, is at. But that being said, we've got a disagreement and an agreement now coming into our next fight, which will be my 4 weight. My second most confident pick on this card will be Alex Caceres to beat Julian Erosa in the featherweight division. I've got Alex Caceres as a plus 142 underdog to beat Julian Erosa, the minus 184 favorite. This is going to be a great fight, I think, matchup wise. Caceres will be able to bring it. And don't get me wrong, Erosa, I mean, this could really be the fight of the night, just in terms of these guys absolutely bringing it. Both, I mean, Caceres, for his age, being 34, has a nuts amount of UFC experience. And we could go on for days about some of the guys he's fought since his tenure that began in 2011. It's pretty impressive to see how long this guy's been around because he continues to win. And he, there's a streak in there where he kind of lost a few win, loss, win, loss. But lately, he is 5-1 in his last 6 fights, only losing to Sadiq Youssef earlier this year, who's a pretty formidable opponent at this point. I don't know how highly Sadiq Youssef is actually ranked, but I think he's an up-and-coming prospect as well. And he's only lost to Arnold Allen. So that's a pretty tough guy to beat. And Julian Erosa he has similar things to say about the UFC experience that he has, but not similar things to say about his win streak or his ability to beat some of the up and comers of the UFC, such as Alex Caceres being able to beat Chase Hooper, one of the young up and comers of the UFC, who's kind of been up and down in his most recent fights. So Jose, I'm not sure you have a pick on this fight, but I'm still kind of curious to see what your input is.
Yeah, this one, it was out. I did not choose this one, part of my weight system, but I would lean towards Julian Erosa. Coming off his 3-fight winning streak, he's been able to finish via submission, win 2 times via decision. Yeah, Sadiq Youssef, he was a really tough challenge for Alex Caceres, but and they chase Cooper. I feel like there's some fights he definitely should have won and chase. He's still young, like you say, he's been up and down. That was definitely one he should have won for sure. I think that the wins that Julian Erosa has over Hakeem Dawodu and Charles Jourdain, Charles Jourdain are more impressive. So that's why I lean towards the favorite Julian Erosa on this one.
Okay, so Jose does not necessarily agree, but he's not confident enough to place it on his tier list of 5. Not me. I'm putting Caceres as my 4 weight. I think he's going to bring it. And I can't believe, to be honest, I think it's insanely great value that he's the underdog. And he will likely, most likely, unless things change until Saturday, be my underdog of the week. So that being said, we've covered half of the fights on this card, and we are still moving on to we're going to go down to Jose's 4-weight.
Yeah, for my 4-way, this is my second most confident pick. This is Jared Cannonier over Sean Strickland.
And this is, sorry, Jose, this is my 3-weight on Cannonier.
So this is your 3-way. So we both have Jared Cannonier for this one. And we're not so far off. I have him at 5 and you at 3. And Jared Cannonier, he's actually right now he's the slight underdog at minus 106, while Sean Strickland right now is the favorite at minus 120. Yeah, I had Jared. I'm kind of surprised to actually see Jared Cannonier not be the favorite here. That being, especially because Sean Strickland just came off that KO loss to the current champ Alex Pereira. Because I think Sean Strickland, he's going to play the same game, just walk forward and not afraid to take a few good hits just to throw something back. But Jared Cannonier, he has power behind his hands, so that's why I feel pretty confident. Alex Pereira, he left kind of like a game plan for a lot of people in the division. Like, yeah, Sean Strickland, he's scary and he throws a high volume of punches walking forward at you. But if you can keep your distance and you can prove to be the better striker, you can put him out. And Jared Cannonier, being a former heavyweight, I feel that confident that he can put out Sean Strickland.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty bold bet, but at the same time, I see where you're coming from. I obviously favor Cannonier myself with him as my 3-weight. So he was going to be my next pick after Caceres in terms of confidence. I think the Killer Gorilla definitely wins in the strength and the ability to knock out category. But as you mentioned too, Sean Strickland is a high volume striker. So we could sit here and go on and on about his striking, strikes landed per minute, this and that being higher. But I'm not sure how much the stats in this fight are going to play in terms of the outcome. Sean Strickland, if he's smart, he's going to play a rangy game where he stays away from those big swings and he kind of learns his lessons from Pereira and doesn't just, push forward, push forward, push forward and get knocked out. But the Killer Gorilla and try and tire the Killer Gorilla out. That's the main thing. If you can get to round 3, tire him out, make him throw some swings, get him in the clinch, he's tired, then you're in an advantage spot. But until then, I definitely like Cannonier. I think he's live for a KO. Like you mentioned, he's got a nice little reach advantage of 1.5 inches. He's getting a little old. He's getting into his upper 30s. So if he can't come through now and make another run, Cannonier might have to be walking away pretty soon. So Sean Strickland truly has the age advantage here too, which is fascinating, and will also likely have a speed advantage, which would be something to worry about. And that's why, for those reasons, is why I couldn't justify putting Cannonier to my 4 or 5 weight personally. But I'm still pretty confident, obviously, in Cannonier getting the win here, and I'll still likely be putting him in some parlays.
Yeah, man. No, I hear what you're saying. Like, you think Sean Strickland would learn his lesson after, fighting Alex Pereira. But the thing is, I've seen some of his footage, his sparring footage lately, and he just recently went up against a guy that challenged him, like, in a boxing match. And even then, Sean he wasn't getting hurt by any chance, but he was taking shots by the guy. And this was a guy from like the street. He did boxing, so that's why he was able to land like shots on him. But the fact is, he is, I think, known training wise to take shots to the head. So even if he comes with a different game plan, it's like, well, he's probably already taken some unnecessary damage while he's been training, and just seeing the way he fights and is not afraid to take that. I don't know if he's going to be conservative and stay back. I think he's gonna probably fall back to what he's always done throughout his UFC career. And yeah, he's got to close that distance, because Jared Cannonier, he does have that reach advantage, and that's why I think, like, if he can keep his distance and he can knock out Sean Strickland, especially because Jared Cannonier I feel like putting him in at a 5'2", because he used to be a heavyweight. He has that big man power, and while Sean Strickland used to be a welterweight. So, I know it doesn't mean much because like Robert Whittaker beat Jared Cannonier, but I feel pretty good, like, also with Jared Cannonier, like yourself. But I had a 5.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that might have to be a podcast endorsed winning decision then. I like it. Maybe we say the Moneyline MMA endorsement of Cannonier by KO. That being said, we would be moving on to my 3 weight, but that's already just been discussed here, as my 3 weight was Jared Cannonier. So we're going to move on to Jose's 3 weight in a fight that I don't have a weight on. So we'll let Jose take this one away.
Yeah, so for my 3 weight, I have Michal Oleksiejczuk over Cody Brundage. Right now, Michal Oleksiejczuk is the betting favorite at -295, while Cody Brundage is the betting underdog at +220. I don't think the money line should have been that. I guess that margin should have been that big of a disparity, but you think it would have been closer, especially after Cody Brundage coming off 2 back-to-back finishes, one via submission and one via KO. I think Michal Oleksiejczuk, I think he's the real deal. This kid, he's 27 and he hasn't been in the UFC. He's been in the UFC for a while, and I think right now, this win most recently over Sam Alvey. He also was a finisher, getting TKO in the first round. Just his experience over Cody Brundage, I think that's what's going to be the difference maker in here. I just feel that much confident. Cody Brundage, he's not that much older, but his experience compared to Oleksiejczuk's is probably the biggest reason why he's this big of a favorite, and also being the younger guy. I think this one's definitely one that Michal Oleksiejczuk should get. But yeah, so I feel really confident with Michal Oleksiejczuk. Nick, I know you don't have really stake in this game, in this fight, but just curious, what are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are that I definitely agree in that I lead Oleksiejczuk here. I think he should get the win. This is a fight he should win. Obviously, fights that fighters should win, they don't always come through with. Cody Brundage to me is the underdog here because beating Trayshawn Gore just isn't that impressive, if you ask me. Trayshawn Gore was very concerned about getting taken down and just got smacked in the first round, not even paying much attention. So it is impressive to get two straight first round knockouts, but I think the betting public is waiting to see him actually win a fight as a whole. I mean, goodness sakes, the first knockout he got against Dalcha Lungiambula, he got 4 strikes landed to Dalcha's 29. He was getting outstruck and he landed a great submission win. So is he going to be able to do that against Oleksiejczuk? No, in my opinion, not. I think Oleksiejczuk gets this done. Not quite sure winning method. I'll just take Oleksiejczuk if I had to, but obviously I'm not confident enough to put any weight on it.
Yeah, and I just recalled like right here, Cody Brundage actually stepped into. There's actually a replacement fight, so I'm sure that also has like huge reasons why he's probably also coming in as the underdog. So that makes me feel better going from Oleksiejczuk myself.
Yeah, and another point I wanted to make is, Oleksiejczuk fought at light heavyweight at 205 and lost against Jacoby. He won a couple fights at 205, but he dropped down to 185 and fought Sam Alvey and got the win. I think this is the right decision for him to stay at 185. And that being said, that gives me even a little bit more confidence in Oleksiejczuk. So now that we've covered both of our weights all the way down to 2, we've covered all the fights except one. It's time, Jose, to discuss the co-main event, a fight in which I have placed my 2 weight on Damir Ismagulov, the underdog, at plus 142, fighting Arman Tsarukyan at minus 184. Jose, you've got stake in this fight, right?
Yes, this is actually my one weight. So my least confident pick because I know Damir's he's a killer. So I have Arman over Damir, but I'm just the least confident because I could see this going either way.
Okay. So this is another disagreement then, another crossfire here. Neither of us are as confident, but I still have a 2 weight on it, so I'm a little bit more confident in Damir here. And don't get me wrong, I respect Arman a lot, and I was one of the people that won money on Gamrot winning that decision against him, and I still can't agree. It could have gone either way, right? A lot of people will say Arman won, but I think it was a close fight. I mean, it was certainly closer than Patty getting a win last weekend, and Patty still got the unanimous decision somehow. So that being said, I'm not trying to take anything away from Arman's loss there, but Damir is just a straight killer, man. I think he's got a really impressive win against Guram Kutateladze, and I mean, as good as Arman is, I'm not sure how much Arman's going to be able to just come in and do as he pleases, like he can against some fighters in terms of taking them down if he wants. Now, he doesn't have a submission win on UFC record, but Arman has taken down some fighters up to 10 times in his UFC career, and he's not going to be able to do that against Damir. Damir has a 90% takedown defense. 5-0 record in the UFC and wins against Thiago Moises. And I get Thiago is now pretty Thiago actually is young. Thiago is 27, 28 years old. So he's kind of on the up and coming. Damir is not beating these old, kind of washed up fighters. So I think Damir is really strong here. And I think this fight ends up taking place pretty much on the feet the entire time. And I will take Damir in that situation. 2-inch reach, 3-inch height advantage. I think Damir brings it and brings it heavy.
No, yeah, man, I definitely hear you. Yeah, Damir, yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with, and his winning streak right now is phenomenal. Yeah, I'm going with Arman. Yeah, that like you said that he had a close fight with Matus, even though he lost by unanimous. Before that, he had five winning streak, and he also went against Islam, and he went to unanimous decision against him. And I mean, he was just a kid, So I think Armin, he's so young in his career that I think this is going to be a turnaround fight for him. And I actually can see Arman being a top 5 fighter and probably even fighting for the belt. He's only 26, so he has a lot of potential, and I think that the path of that is this weekend. So I'm confident that he'll get the win, but he's my least confident of all the fights.
Fair enough, man. And I think both of these guys really do have a bright future in the UFC, no matter who wins or loses here. I think the lightweight division is going to be kind of having their eyes out for these guys coming up soon. I think both of them are going to be killers. And yes, a loss might set one of them back a little bit, but in any case, even if Arman loses this or Damir loses this, they still deserve top line, top talents. These guys are amazing fighters, and the UFC is not taking it easy on them like they have some other fighters, which is fascinating to see who does and doesn't get the Dana White privilege. But maybe that's for another show of ours. That being said, that will be our second disagreement then. The more and more I think about it, the more I like Damir Ismagulov here. It's hard, if anything, I like to have two underdogs of the week because I'm very confident in both of the other underdogs I have on my 5 weights here. And that, I think, about wraps it up.
I think so.
One We've covered all the fights here. Considering we usually like to wrap it up quick with one last parlay, just in terms of giving some little bets at the end, because you guys throughout the show have heard our bets for the each individual fights. But in terms of the fights we agree on, Jared Cannonier, even though that's pretty much the most even in terms of straight up betting odds, the most even fight, that is the fight Jose and I had the most weight on combined, with a combined 7 weights on Cannonier. We both like Drew Dober as well. So that'll be a definite 2-leg parlay at plus 215 already for 2 fights that we both liked. And we could also go with Oleksiejczuk, a guy that Jose had weighted and I favored but did not weight. And that 3-leg will be plus 322. So those will be the main parlays from Moneyline MMA this week. This will be the last show of the year. We wanted to try out this new format before going into next year so we could kind of get a little better at it and kind of sharpen the edges to make it the cleanest product. But we also want it to be somewhat unique so that it's not the same format as everybody else. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Don't forget to follow us at Moneyline MMA on Twitter and give us a subscription here on YouTube so you can catch our next video for the first fight card in 2023. Have a great year, guys.